program, Barrister Ebenezer Ugwatu.
Thank you very much.
Nice to see you today.
Thank you.
All right. So today we're looking at the rights of people living with HIV and AIDS. All right.
Okay, yes, thank you. Good morning. Last week we began to examine the rights of persons living with HIV and AIDS in Nigeria, and we took a look at the HIV and AIDS Anti-Discrimination Prohibition Act. And we started with looking at the various angles or the various definitions or the various categories of discrimination under the act. And today we're going to continue the conversation and look at the other rights that are available to this class of persons under the act. Very particularly, we'll be focusing on the right to testing and what the act says about testing, HIV testing as it relates to these persons, and how the act also prohibits any form of discrimination on this ground.
Yeah, it's very key because, you know, the issue of testing is very critical because we heard cases where some people had been tested even without their consent.
Yeah, yes.
Does that mean that is not right?
Yes.
That's totally wrong.
Okay, so what does this law say about this?
Okay, we're going to look at Section 9 of the HIV and AIDS Anti-Discrimination Prohibition Act. Section 9, subsection 1 says, no employer, institution, body, or individual shall require an HIV test as a precondition to an offer of employment, access to public or private services or opportunities, except where it is shown on the certificate of two competent medical authorities working independently to the court that failure to take such a test constitutes a clear and presents danger of HIV transmission to others. Now, that is what Section 9 of this Act says. And it's very clear here that this is not, the law says it is not HIV testing or the result of an HIV test carried out on a particular individual should not be a precondition upon which the person can either be given employment or denied employment, access to public or private services or whatever service at all, except where it is proven that such a test or that is required as a prevention method so that other persons will not be infected or so. But outside of this, where that exception does not exist, nothing precludes any individual from gaining access to whatever service that is there for him to, that he is entitled to.
Barrister Ebenezer?
Well, the law is clear. I have always maintained that in Nigeria we have the best laws on paper. All over the world, our law seems to me to be the best on paper. The challenge is implementation, enforcement. These laws are there. Then we also have, with every sense of humility, relative amount of ignorance amongst our people, Nigerians. We don't really read. We are not inquisitive.
Okay.
We are not inquisitive. Some people might hear what we are doing here now. The essence of this is to educate the populace.
Right.
It's to educate the populace. We don't challenge status quo. This law was made in 2014. Up till now, as at last week, yes, it was enacted in 2014. Last week, while on air, someone phoned in that his sister was sacked from her place of work solely because of the fact that she is HIV positive.
Oh, they're still doing that?
Yes, and this is a clear contradiction of this provision. So, what there are instances where people might say, okay, go run a HIV test as part of your medicals before you are employed. What we are saying here is that the law frowns at such practices. It's an offense if anyone does that.
Okay, but why is it not an offense for someone for an organization, for instance, to say, okay, you need to do a test for, let's say, hepatitis A or B, but before we can, consider your employment? Why is it becoming a problem when it has to do with HIV?
Now, the problem here is the stigma and discrimination that is meted to persons living with HIV/AIDS. That's the issue. This same question we talked about, what about people who have malaria or typhoid? But the challenge is that the HIV/AIDS related discrimination and stigma kills faster than even the virus.
Okay.
Imagine a situation where someone or people, a group of people whom you grew up together, knowing as brothers and sisters, as family, people who you could run to when you are in need, are the ones discriminating against you, are the ones avoiding you. People who could ordinarily take care of you when you are down are the ones avoiding you like a plague. It destabilizes, it could destabilize anybody psychologically. Some people have committed suicide because of this. So what the law tends to do here is to eradicate discrimination. More so, medical science has advanced so much so that HIV has been curtailed. Yes, it is still, people could still contract it, but there's a lot of awareness. There is a lot that is being done medically to the extent that couples could marry and give birth to a child who is HIV/AIDS free. That's what we are talking about now. There is a prevention from mother to child prevention now, which we are not so in years or years past. So what we are saying now is there is no need for such employment related discrimination or any form of discrimination whatsoever. Now, all you need to do to any person living with HIV is what the person needs from you is just care, empathy, care.
Okay, but don't you think that it's okay for an organization to know the status of whoever it's going to employ, so that when the person is HIV/AIDS positive, there may be some special consideration?
Now, there is nothing wrong in knowing the status per se.
Okay.
But what is the motive for knowing the status? That's where the issue is. If the motive is to avoid this person, to quickly disengage this person, to stigmatize against this person, that's where there's an issue. If the motive, if knowing that this person is HIV/AIDS positive and the organization goes out of its way to maybe give extra care. I have said here before that HIV does not affect capacity to perform. Except with the virus itself does not, and even takes years before it metamorphoses into full-blown AIDS. That's one.
If it's not properly
two, there is antiretroviral drug which is even free of charge now, that is being given to persons living with HIV/AIDS. So the rate of transmission has been curtailed to a reasonable extent. So to that extent, there is really no need for this stigmatization. That's what the law is saying. Now, there is a provision here that talks about penalty for non-compliance. Now, section 23, you may read it, where an individual is found to have contravened any section of this law. That individual is, if convicted, will be liable to pay a fine of 500,000 naira.
500,000?
Yes.
Okay. So then any organization that...
that's for an individual. For an organization, it's a fine of 2 million naira.
Being paid to the person?
Yes. It's a fine of 2 million. Or imprisonment, or even both, depending on what the court decides. But the issue is people are not aware. People are not challenging these things. Do you understand? So people, if I step out now, the whole world will know. No, come out, challenge it in court. That's the only way we will enrich our democracy. That's the only way we will enrich our jurisprudence. Let's put our laws to test.
And do you think we have the right institutions to ensure that people who are victimized get justice?
The institutions are there. The courts are willing to work. the challenge is the victims or complainants. The court or the judge will not leave his office to come to knock at your door and ask you questions.
What are your problems?
Yes,
You need to
the
come
judge
out
will
and-
only work on information or complaints or suits filed before him. So if the victim begins to maybe shield the victimizers or the oppressors, so to speak, that has been the problem. The victims of such discrimination should speak out. I was happy when someone called last week on behalf of his sister. I told them the steps to take. I told the person to come here, drop his name. I was willing to take up that case free of charge. I told the person on air. So I don't know if the person has reported. So it's when we begin to do these things that other people can come out. You may not know how much life you are saving by taking that singular step. You may think you are fighting for yourself, but as you're taking that steps, you are actually giving someone somewhere courage to also follow after your footstep. Until we do this discrimination and stigmatization will continue to exist.
Okay, on the other hand, do you think that anyone who is living with HIV and AIDS has an obligation to inform his or her organization that, look, this is my status?
Yes.
Do you think, is that what is supposed to be done?
In a sane and civil society, that is ordinarily how it should be. Because you know that the person you are informing owes you a duty. That duty is a duty of empathy, even though it is not written anywhere.
Okay, it's not written down.
Yes, but then here, because of ignorance and superstition, do you understand it? People will always run away from such a person. So the fear of the person living with HIV/AIDS now is, if he exposes or declares his status, what will be meted out to him? We had a case many years ago. I mentioned that case here last time. Someone enrolled in a school, an institute, and on the day of their orientation, the rector said every student is mandated to have full attendance. On no account should a student miss classes. And the guy walked up to the rector afterwards and told him there is a person living with HIV/AIDS. On Thursdays, he'll be going to the hospital to take his antiretroviral drug. Do you know what happened the next day? The rector notified the security personnel not to allow that guy to come back to school the following day. On the third day, the school raised a check for the school fees he had paid and returned that to him.
In Nigeria?
Yes, that was in the early years of HIV. That was early 2000. Okay. So it took the civil society organizations consistent protest, consistent advocacy, because the HIV campaign was at its peak then. So, and there was a lot of ignorance surrounding it. So they kept hammering, if we allow this to go, then it means we are wasting our time saying we are fighting against discrimination or sensitizing the people. At the end of the day, NACA intervened, and the man in question was given a scholarship in that same school.
Okay.
Now, to buttress my point I earlier made that HIV does not affect capacity, the guy came out the best graduating student in his class. Today, as I speak with you, he's a journalist and he's working. It has not in any way affected his capacity to deliver. Now, I could tell this story today because he stood his ground and fought. If he didn't come out, the civil society organizations wouldn't have stood behind him to fight. Yes, it was a protracted fight for him, but at the end of the day, we could tell a story of victory. So I want to encourage anybody who might be living with HIV/AIDS now, come out. There is a law that backs you up. Be bold enough, take bold steps, and challenge the status quo.
Okay, by Sir Uche, I know that some of the persons that live with HIV/AIDS are people who don't really have so much money to contract lawyers. Do we have institutions or a group of lawyers that can come out and say, okay, for the sake of this, we can come, and fight for you in court without money? I know Ebenezer looks like someone who can do something like that. So, but do we have something like that?
Well, every lawyer is enjoined to take cases on pro bono basis. So you don't necessarily have to be a person living with HIV/AIDS for a lawyer to render pro bono services to you.
Yes.
Once the lawyer sees that you are indigent, you will not be able to pay his legal fees. He owes it as a duty, more like a corporate social responsibility, giving back to the society. But where the lawyer sees that you are well to do, regardless of your HIV status, there are wealthy men and women who live with HIV/AIDS, so they can pay the lawyer for his legal services. So what we are saying is, if the person is indigent and cannot afford his legal fees, and it could be seen, I said HIV/AIDS does not affect capacity. So if the virus itself does not, if you are intelligent, if you are strong, you can still work. Except if you have full-blown AIDS, and you're down, and you can only get to that stage where you refuse to take your drugs. So you will have no one to blame at that point. But if you take your antiretroviral drug consistently, as at when you will have no business getting down.
Okay, let me ask of before this enlightenment about HIV, I know a lot of people get scared of going to test themselves. I used to be also very scared until it became a condition was given that before you get married in my church, you have to be tested. So I had to go and get tested. I'm sure if not for that, maybe I wouldn't have gone to test. But what is that okay for you to set a condition that before you do this, you must be like marriage, for instance? Is it okay for people to be compelled to get tested because of marriage?
No, it is not compulsion.
Some.
No,
okay.
It is not compulsion. It's an admonition.
Meaning
you are advised to take the test. Now, if you are interested in getting married, two of you must agree. So you will not endanger the life of your would-be spouse because you are selfish enough not to disclose your HIV status to the other party. You are coming into a marriage a contract, so to speak. You will not endanger the other person's life. Marriage requires openness, honesty, total disclosure of anything that could bring problem in the future. So, in the interest to even show that you love this person and you are sincere enough, you should be the one to initiate going for it. The church doesn't have to compel you. More so, it is in your interest. It's not the church that will be affected at the end of the day. There might be because a member is involved, but you are the direct person suffering. So, you don't have to wait to get to the point of getting married before you go for routine checks. Yes. Go for routine checks. The issue here is that
I think a lot of people
are religious.
Back then,
But the truth is, we haven't gone past. We will not sit back here and pretend that okay, we've gotten to that point where we have gone past all of the ignorance and all of the superstition, so to speak, surrounding HIV and AIDS and all of that. We won't pretend we have gone past all of that. We still live with these realities, and it is on the strength of this that we entertain the fear that we entertain, myself inclusive. If once you mention it, I will be so, I don't want to, I just don't want to know. For instance, it's just like, ignorance is, as much as it is very, very advisable that you should go and know the testing, your status rather, but we haven't gone past all of those ignorance. Not many people know that you can lead normal lives. You can live your life as if nothing happened, whether or not you are positive or negative. It's not, so long as when you discover that this is what my status is, you follow the prescribed guidelines. Take the necessary medication, take the necessary food, make sure that you keep a healthy lifestyle and all of that. Nothing changes. You know, I fortunately I know one or two persons, and we live our normal lives like nothing is happening.
Yes.
And I've tried to I've come to that point where I know that this is who this person is, this is who she is to me, this is who he is to me, and nothing is different. I could be a carrier of malaria tomorrow and nothing changes.
Okay.
You know, so we just want to get to that point where we can say whether it is HIV or malaria, nothing changes so long as you do what you are supposed to do. When you have malaria, you take when you have malaria, you take anti-malaria drugs, you go for medications and all of that. You try to protect your house have sleep under treated nets and all of that. It's the same thing with someone who has whatever other disease or ailment or virus. You take necessary preconditions, and it is never a death sentence. It has never been a death sentence, and I don't think it will change. But it's just that we change our mindset from, and that is why these laws are there.
Okay, do we have a law that can bite if, for instance, I apply to your institution, to an organization, for instance, and the organization did not ask me to do the test, and then they secretly maybe carry out the test, maybe in the name of they're going to sample blood for some other reasons, or maybe and then they secretly do a HIV test for me. Do we have a law that stands against that?
This act covers that, because the test is being done without your consent,
and so you can sue.
Yes, you can. You can.
No, I think where it is done without consent, and on the strength of that, you are discriminated against for whatever reason.
Not just that.
Do it,
you
and
have
you are even negative and you're not even positive.
You see,
but the fact that you were not aware or you were deceived into doing it.
The National Health Act, a combination of that act with this and the to an extent, I wouldn't say the Constitution, but a combination of the provisions of National Health Act, which specifically talks about informed consent, not just consent, informed consent. That will be a breach of that. If I took your blood sample and informed you that I want to do carry out a malaria or typhoid test,
yes,
and in the course of doing that, I now also run an HIV test without your consent, and you come back tomorrow and I give you your malaria and typhoid test, and maybe a colleague in the lab whispers to you, actually you also have HIV, because in the course of running this test we just decided to. You can take it up. It's a violation of your privacy. In fact, the Constitution protects you.
Okay.
It's a violation of your right to privacy.
Okay, so we'll take a short break, but we'll be right back. So please just hold on for us. We'll just come back quickly after this commercial break. All right?
Word Alive Center International welcomes you to a media convention. Theme, High Favor. Coming to you with the Word of God are Apostle Femi Emmanuel, Bishop Mike White, Bishop Tina Bauer, and your host, Reverend Godwin and Pastor Mrs. Chinyere Abba. Music by Chris Morgan and The Splendor. Date, Tuesday the 3rd of July to Sunday 8th of July 2018. Time, morning sessions 9:30 a.m. will be focusing on business, career, and ministry. And the evening session 5:30 p.m. will be focusing on faith, family, finance, and the future. And 8 a.m. on Sunday for a Thanksgiving service. Venue, Word Alive Center International between Drumsticks and Diamond Bank, 1st Avenue, Warimpa, Abuja. For more information, you can follow us on all our social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Wacky Abuja. Come contact the Grace for High Favor. Word Alive Center International, healing the broken world by the spoken word. Jesus is alive.
Are you living around Jahi, Utako, Kado, Lifecam, Warimpa, Katampe, Wuse 2, Mabuchi, Kadokuchi? If you are, Do not miss this awesome opportunity to get your child enrolled in our purpose-built school. Our fees are unbelievably cheap for what we offer. Register for daycare, nursery, and primary at Oscar International Academy, located at Jahi 1 beside Platinum Plaza by Mabushi Ultra-Modern Market, Abuja. Also available is a fun-filled educational plus skill acquisition summer program. For more inquiries, please call 081 01 17 2885 or 070 8202 8220. Oscar International Academy, the perfect grooming ground for your kids.
There is an opportunity of getting employed on Project Smart Jobs and earn up to 300,000 naira monthly.
Really?
Yes! The National Institute for Hospitality and Tourism, NIHOTOUR, has partnered Consolidated Alliance on Project Smart Jobs.
Project Smart Jobs?
Project Smart Jobs is an online employment training platform that gives you requisite training plus empowerment seed fund up to 1 million naira as startup capital.
Seriously?
Yes, 1 million naira to buy and sell deals on Smart Jobs mobile application. For more information, visit www.nihotour.gov.ng and click on Project Smart Jobs. To register, visit www.smartjobs.ng or call us on 081 8557 8887 or 081 8557 8888. Take a bold step and visit us now.
This is to inform the general public that the activities of scavengers, also known as Babambola, is prohibited within the Federal Capital City. Their activities are henceforth restricted to the area councils. Residents of the Federal Capital City are advised to be vigilant and report any suspicious activities to law enforcement agencies. Together, we can make Abuja the city of our dreams.
èyí ni láti kéde pé ojúṣe àwọn sagolo sapáànù tí a mọ̀ sí Babambola ti dókun nílùú Àbújá àti ìjọba àbílẹ̀ mẹ́fẹ̀ẹ̀fà bí ọwọ́ sìnkú àwọn agbófinró bá wá bá ẹnikẹ́ni nínú wọn yóò fi ojú ba ilé ẹjọ́ o. ẹ̀yin olùgbé Àbújá ẹ̀yà tètè tẹ́tí lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ tẹ́ bá rí ẹnikẹ́ni tí ń yọ́lẹ̀ ẹ̀dà tí kò tẹ̀lé òfin tó sì ń sagolo tí ń sapáànù ẹ tètè fi tó àwọn agbófinró létí. àjọṣe wa ni o láti mú kí olú ìlú yìí dùn ún wò kí ó sì dùn gbé pẹ̀lú ìrọ̀rùn. ìkéde yìí wá láti iléeṣẹ́ ìjọba olú ìlú yìí ìyẹn Federal Capital Territory Administration.
Awidna akugna aza vien kizinege tuntun aza mbatun aya una vidankulu na kobege Babambola atela jebaje o kizine nkoyin dinya kola ka haye abatun kola pojun inara kansi vien ba logutna e kizine ozana wa sasatu vidankulu wotna aba won api aga otata agna kizinda mbasasaloge balaweka na zaipia da azalaba sasalo kinzinege balawepi na ja zaipia bakara na bana banwa ba tabashiba agabatata yutna wode yami kinzinne ko na ba abwa abegi awudneba mbagbin ngel city atutne jina kokoge Federal Capital Territory Administration.
Mmiri ebidola a na-adọ ọhaneze aka na ntị ka ha gbochie ma kwụsị akparamagwa ga-ebute mmiri ọdụdọ na mbuze dịka iwufu ahịhịa n'ime mmiri na-asọ asọ ya na ịtụnye ihe n'ime gota. A na-emekwa ka ị mara na iwu ụlọ n'ebe na-ekwesịghị dịka ụzọ mmiri nwere ike ịkpata ịtụfu ndụ ndị mmadụ n'efu ya na ihe nweta ndị mmadụ ịla n'iyi. Mee ihe kwesịrị dị mma. Ọ bụ Federal Capital Territory Administration FCTA na-ezitara gị ozi a.
Yayin da damuna ta fara kankama an shawarci al'umma da su guji bata muhalli wanda ke iya jawo ambaliya. Zub da shara ba kan gado shine makasudin babbar ambaliya a birnin tarayya Abuja. Saboda haka kar ku zub da sharar ku a magudanan ruwa. Bugu da kari an shawarci al'umma da su kiyaye yin gine-ginen gidaje a hanyoyin ruwa wanda yin haka kan iya jawo rusan da zai laƙume rayukan al'umma da dukiyoyinsu a lokacin damuna. A koda yaushe ku kasance mai yin abin da yake daidai. Wannan sako na zo muku ne daga hukumar birnin tarayya FCTA.
Wani ya samu wani yana kamu min yi nasara.
Gẹ́gẹ́ bí a ti mọ̀ wípé àsìkò òjò la wà, èyí ni láti sọ fún gbogbo ènìyàn láti yàgò fún ìwà ìdọ̀tí, dídà ìdọ̀tí síbi tí ò bójúmu tí ó lè fa omíyalé, àgbàrá ya ṣọ́ọ̀bù, dídà ìdọ̀tí síbi tí ò bójúmu tàbí òpópónà sì jẹ́ ohun kan gbòógì tí ó ń ṣokùnfà omíyalé, àgbàrá ya ṣọ́ọ̀bù ní ìlú Àbújá. Ẹ má ṣe da ìdọ̀tí sínú gọ́tà tàbí ọ̀nà tí ìjọba ti pèsè sílẹ̀ fún omi láti gbà kọjá. A tún fi àsìkò yìí sọ fún gbogbo olùgbé FCT Àbújá láti rí dájú wípé wọn ò kọ́ ilé sí ọ̀nà tí omi ń gbà kọjá. Èyí lè ṣe okùnfà pípàdánù ọ̀gọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀mí tàbí pípàdánù ohun ìní ní àsìkò òjò. Ẹ ṣe ohun tó tọ́. Ìkéde yìí wá láti àjọ FCTA Federal Capital Territory Administration.
As the rainy season begins, the general public is hereby advised to avoid environmental practices that could cause flooding. Indiscriminate waste disposal has remained a major factor causing flooding in the FCT. Do not throw your garbage into gutters and drainages along waterways. Residents are also advised to avoid building houses around natural waterways, as this could also lead to loss of lives and property during the rainy season.
Do the right thing. This message is from the Federal Capital Territory, FCTA.
Ana sanar da dukkanin al'ummar birnin tarayya Abuja da ku kasance masu bin dokoki sahu da kafa, musamman ma ta fuskar dokokin hanyoyi da na kafa guraren kwana ba bisa ka'ida ba a birnin tarayya Abuja. A kuma sani cewa har yanzu dokan nan ta hana amfani da tsofaffin motoci a matsayin taxi, haka zalika kananan motocin bus da kwasta, tare da hana sana'ar acaba a cikin birnin tarayya Abuja. A kuma tabbatar da cewa an bi dokar sana'ar acaba a guraren da doka ta amince, tare da tabbatar da bin dokar hana karuwanci da yawon banza a birnin tarayya da sauran laifuka kamar tu'amali da miyagun kwayoyi, kafa tashoshin motoci ba bisa ka'ida ba, da dai sauran laifuka iri daban-daban. Hakika duk wanda aka kama ya karya doka za a hukunta shi. Mu haɗa hannu domin gina birnin tarayya Abuja a matsayin abin alfaharinmu.
Eji ohere a echetara ndị bi isi obodo anyị bụ Abuja mkpa ọ dị idobe iwu tụmadị ka o si gbasata okporo ụzọ n'ebe obibi na-ezighị ezi. Biko mara na enya otu task force nke minista hibere ikike ịhụ na iwu nke mechibidoro adịgboroja ụgbọala ọbụla eji arachapịọm pụtara ihe. Ha ga-ahụkwa na akwụsịrị kpamkpam iji ọgbatumtum maọbụ ị na-aga ebugharị ndị mmadụ n'isi obodo anyị bụ Abuja. Otu a ga-ahụkwa na ha gbochiri ndị keke ma mawapụtakwara ha ebe ha ga na-agba na mpaghara isi obodo anyị. Ha ga-ekpochapụkwa ndị akwụna na ụmụ mmekpa ahụ ndị ọzọ dịka ịtụ mgbere mmadụ, ire ọgwụ ike nakwa iwepụ ma kurie ebe obibi ọbụla na-ezighị ezi. Otu a ga-ahụ na ewepụrụ ọdụ ụgbọala na-ekwesịghị ekwesị n'isi obodo anyị. Biko ka anyị jikọọ n'aka ọnụ wulite FCT ka ọ dị ka anyị si chọọ ya. Ndị aka ga-akpara dara iwu ndị a ga-eji anya ha hụ ntị ha, bụrụ ezi nwa amaala, dobe iwu ala anyị.
Aha! Kéku ló gbọ́ kó yá àwí fún toko. Kánò gbọ́ kóró fún ọbẹ̀ pé ìjọba olú ìlú yìí fi àsìkò ìran gbogbo olùgbé ìlú yìí ní etí o pé ìjọba kò fi àyè gba àwọn ọkọ̀ tí kò dára, kẹ̀kẹ́ nàpẹ́ẹ̀bù, ọ̀kadà alùpùpù àti àwọn ọmọbìnrin tí ń ṣiṣẹ́ gbélépawó, ìyẹn àwọn aṣẹ́wó nínú ìlú Àbújá o. Mọ́ gbàgbé pé àwọn amúnisínkùn ìjọba ń bẹ láàrin ìlú, bí ọwọ́ wọn bá bà ọ́ ajẹ́pọ̀ orugi oyin nìyẹn o. Káwí fún ni ká gbọ́ ìlú yọ máa dárí hunrun, ṣèbí ká sọ̀rọ̀ fún ni ká gbà ní yọ ọmọ ẹ̀dá èèyàn. Gbọ́ ohun tí ìjọba olú ìlú yìí ń sọ fún gbogbo wa, kí ìlú Àbújá kí ó lè dùn ún wò, kí ó lè dùn ún gbé fún gbogbo wa. Dídára olú ìlú yìí àjọṣe wa ni o. Jẹ́ kí èmi àti ẹ jẹ́ olùgbé rere.
back. This is Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM, and the program is the Probono Chambers. And I still have in the house Barrister Uche and Barrister Ebenezer.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Today we're looking at the rights of people living with HIV and AIDS in Nigeria. Barrister Ebenezer, you always... Okay, my microphone was off. Okay, so welcome back again to Probono Chambers. My name is Oikeke Igado Kure, and I've been discussing the rights of people living with HIV and AIDS in Nigeria with Barrister Uche and Ebenezer.
Thank you.
Ebenezer, is it that it is automatic? You've been talking about organizations, what they do to people living with HIV in terms of their rights. Is it that if I am HIV positive, for instance, I must be in the organization no matter the condition because I'm HIV positive?
No. That's not what the law envisaged.
Okay.
What we are saying here is this. Even if you are a person living with HIV/AIDS or the HIV virus, to say, it does not affect your capacity to deliver. So the organization hired you to provide results, to provide solutions, to deliver on tasks, to be productive. So you must be competent in doing that for which you were hired. So you do not now use being HIV/AIDS positive as an excuse for not delivering on your duties. If the organization finds you to be incompetent, they will dismiss you. So the fact that you are a person living with HIV/AIDS is not how do I put, an immunity clause from discrimination or from disengagement from work. No. What we are saying here is, if you have been found to be delivering, to be doing what you are supposed to do, to be good at your job or on your job, and the company wakes up or somehow they found out that you are a person living with HIV/AIDS, and they say no, we can't have you in our organization. You are a person living with HIV/AIDS. It's going to affect our customers. It's going to affect how we are perceived. It's going to affect this. It's going to affect, and they dismiss you.
Okay, that's where the problem is.
That's where the problem is.
Okay, but what if, as a result of the status, the person probably for one reason or the other is not well again to carry out his or her task?
Yeah,
should she still be kept in the organization?
I sincerely doubt. Organizations are established to make profits. Okay, organizations are established to provide solutions. Okay, so where the person can no longer deliver on his duty, if he mustn't be HIV/AIDS. It mustn't be HIV/AIDS. Okay. There are people who could just become so ill that they could no longer, that they are even advised to take bed rest.
Okay, so they're very ill as a result of the virus, but you cannot take them out. It will not look like it's discrimination.
No. If it should be in the person's interest, because you are not subjecting to you can tell the person, okay, and you can tell the person, okay, you go take care of yourself. There is what is called sick leave, right? The person could proceed on a month or 2 months sick leave, depending on how long. Okay. Provided that the disengagement is not discriminatory.
Okay, all right. So
in nature,
I'm sure a lot of people would want to call and find out some things. So you can call us on 081 8999 1011. 081 8999 1011. You can call us. The barristers are in-house. Anything that has to do with the right as someone living with HIV/AIDS, I'm sure they'll be able to give you the right answers. But you need to call and ask. 081 8999 1011 is the number. Okay. All right. So, but what can we say in terms of compliance?
Well, compliance laws are made to be obeyed, and every good law will always have a penalty for failure to comply. So this particular act we are discussing is not an exception to that. Where a person contravenes any section of this act, the person as an individual.
Okay, we have a caller.
Okay,
let's pick this call. Hello. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, go ahead. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Usman. I'm calling from Burabi.
Okay, what's your question, please?
My question is, how some people say that if you're having HIV, then you cannot come close to people. People will start, they are running away from you. So, but for you to keep them close to you is something difficult. People need to be enlightened more. Yeah. I don't know how you people will make the enlightenment for people to know that these people are, this is not contaminated. That people feel that you can if you just come close to someone, you will be infected with the virus.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
The civil society organizations, NGOs, they have done so much in that regard, and they are still doing that. I am aware that there is ongoing sensitization. There are NGOs that are established specifically to enlighten people and sensitize people on HIV/AIDS, modes of transmission, how to prevent it, what to do, what not to do. But sensitization will never be enough until we have a totally eradicated HIV/AIDS as a disease. But I know that the government, individual organizations, Nigerians have done enough and are still doing more with regards to HIV/AIDS sensitization and awareness. And to a large extent, what we are doing here now
is also an enlightenment program. Okay. Hello. 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 Good morning. Okay, you can call us back. The number is 081-8999-1011. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, what's the name? Where are you calling from? And what's your question?
I'm calling from Dapwa.
Okay.
My name is Mr. Promise. I'm a lab scientist.
All right, go ahead.
I want to look at the barrister. I want to talk about informed consent.
Good.
A situation whereby a patient comes to your laboratory outfit and eventually the person is sick and you want to find out what is the problem or what is the source of the person's ailment or sickness. Hello?
I'm
We're
with
hearing.
you.
Okay, and then you now go ahead and conduct a battery of tests, HIV inclusive, and maybe some other tests. And maybe the patient is ignorant of the fact that he has contracted HIV. At the end of the day, you inform the patient that he or she has HIV. Will that be against the rule of informed consent? That is what I want to know.
Okay. It will be proper if you told the patient the tests you are about to run. I know you usually have forms in lab where different tests are written. So you will tell the patient, okay, when the patient tells you these are the symptoms I'm having, you being a person in that field will have an idea, okay, if this symptom is this, if this person is having this symptom or this symptom, these are likely to be the issues. So you now tell the patient, okay, it will be important we do maybe a wider test. We are going to run a HIV test. We are going to run a full blood count test. We are going to run this. So the patient automatically becomes aware that she is going for a HIV test or he is going for a HIV test. So when the result comes out, the person will be surprised. But when the person comes and it's okay, we are going to run series of tests on you, it will be a shocker to the person. I believe the person is not properly informed. So you have a form, and in that form you tick, okay, full blood counts. We are going to run full blood count. Okay, malaria, typhoid, wider. Okay, maybe urine analysis. Maybe, do you understand? You do all that stool analysis. You do all that. You now also tell the person specifically, okay, we'll be running HIV tests so that we just be sure. So you have prepared the person's mind, and maybe depending on the person's countenance as the person who has HIV, you might go a little more further to explain, prepare the person's mind. You know, even if we don't, you know, HIV on its own is not a death sentence. People can now live with HIV. Yeah.
If I'm a coffee shop, there are cases whereby most people come to the lab, especially young girls now.
Please take that again.
Hello, I say there are cases whereby people come to the laboratory, especially young girls.
Okay, yeah.
Committed abortion.
Yeah.
And you know, the complications arising from
yeah. Yes.
disturbing them.
Yes.
You need to, and maybe they come with their auntie or their mother.
Yes.
You need to tell the girl that you want to conduct a pregnancy test to find out whether he or she has committed abortion or that she was pregnant some weeks or months ago.
Well, the person who, you are the professional here, the person who has come out, even if the girl came with her auntie or whoever, the girl is your patient, so there is reasonable privacy that is required. When you want to do your clerking or probing, you are expected to, the other party is expected to excuse you. You can politely tell the madam or the auntie, okay, madam, please wait for us, so and so place, let me attend to her. She requires that privacy to make certain disclosure, even though it is her responsibility primarily to give you full information, because you cannot, you can only act based on the information available to you. So when the lady, the auntie, excuses you, you are with the lady alone. You now ask her, okay, have you done this? Or you let her be assured of.
You know that most of them conceal the information that
then the person is concealing at his or her own detriment. You are not God.
That they're supposed to give to you. It is now ready for you to use their discretion to do the appropriate
sir,
test to be done. You have to find out what
sir, even the test, the issue is here. While you are using your discretion, tell the person the test you want to conduct, not just quoting it in your laboratory lab science terminologies. Reduce it to the language or to the level the person can comprehend.
Okay.
Do you understand? If you want to run a test that could reveal whether or not this person had committed abortion, tell the person, you may mention the test in your terminology as you call it. Then you now explain to the person, well, I'm going to run a test. These symptoms you're having is people who have done this type of thing that usually have these symptoms. I don't know if you have done it. The tests we are going to run will reveal that this is how much it will cost, so that the person knows. One. Then, if it is like a pregnancy test, no matter how you quote it, pregnancy is pregnancy. Tell the person, we are going to run a test. Maybe you're having a stomach ache that is becoming out of proportion. Okay, we might need to run a pregnancy test on you. The person might say, no, I don't want pregnancy test. Or the person might say,
thank you, Barrister. We want to have your personal number so that I can take personal visit to you to get more information.
Okay, there's no problem. You come to the radio station, drop your own number. Whenever I come around.
Radio station,
yeah, this is Human Rights Radio.
Okay.
Yes, you drop your phone number at the gates. Whenever I come around, it will be gotten across to me.
Thank you very much for calling. Thank you. All right, bye. So we don't have much time again. Thank you. So let's talk about compliance as we run off.
Okay.
I'll be here tomorrow morning.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for calling.
Okay.
Compliance, like I was saying before the call came in, laws are made to be obeyed. So there are penalties for non-compliance.
Yes.
Now, there are specific sessions that the breach of that session, there are penalties embedded in the session.
What are these penalties?
Yes. Now, there is also a general penalty for failure to comply in any. Session 23 we had talked about earlier says that if one fails to comply with any of the provisions, if it's an individual, when an individual when convicted, if convicted, the person is liable to pay a fine of 500,000 naira as punishment. If it is an organization, the organization will pay a fine of 2 million naira for failure to comply. Then, or a prison term. Then, I think section 11.
Section 10, subsection 3. Says where a person chooses to voluntarily sorry, that's section 11 now. 11, sorry. It says a person who fails to comply with the provisions of this section commits an offense and is liable on conviction to a fine of not less than 500,000 for an individual and 1 million for an institution, or for a term not exceeding 2 years, or to both fine and imprisonment.
Now, what is that? The offense there? The offense is that you revealed someone's disclosure of someone's HIV status without the person's written consent.
Okay.
It didn't say verbal, written consent, and that consent, the person must be in the right frame of mind to have. If the person has any influence, the consent will not be valid. So, if an organization wants to know or go ahead with disclosing the status of a person, the person must authorize you in writing. I, XYZ, hereby authorize my organization to disclose my HIV status.
Okay.
So, if the organization does not get this written consent, the organization is liable to pay a fine of 1 million naira on conviction.
Okay. Barrister Uche, your final comment, briefly.
Okay, like we have always said and we've always preached on this program, it's important that people are aware of these rights that are applicable to them or that are available to them. And just like Barrister Ebenezer just said, it's always important that we put these laws to test, because for a long time these laws lie dormant because nobody challenges these things, nobody goes to court and claims this right. And it's important that we begin to make this move so that at the end of the day we live in a society that is just and free and equitable for all persons.
All right, so thank you very much. On that note, Barrister Uche and Ebenezer, the program will return same time, Monday, right? On Monday, same time. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. My name is Oikeke Igado Kure.